I didn't hear. Members, please report to the chamber. Members, it's time. Please come to the chamber.
House will come to order. Members, our prayer today will be given by Pastor Brother Kevin McCreelis. He's pastor of Broadway Baptist Church in Rainsville, which is my home church, and it's good to have Brother Kevin here today. Brother Kevin?
Greetings from Sand Mountain. Glad to be with you today. And I also want to say thank you for all that you do. It amazes me. I pray for Nathaniel quite often, and you all come to mine, and I'm just amazed at all that you all would do to do what you do, all that you have to go through to get elected, and then to serve the great people of Alabama. Thank you so much for what you do. Let's pray together. Father, for the men and women that make up this house, I just pray for them today that they will realize that you are here with them, to give them strength and to give them courage. Father, I pray that you'll give them wisdom as they lead the people of Alabama and do and represent us in all the things that happen in this room. Thank you so much for Nathaniel and his leadership. Thank you for each and every member of this House of Representatives. And I pray your blessings upon them. And I pray that they will know that you are here to bless them. And Father, just thank you so much for each and every one. And I pray as we open this session today, that you'll just guide them, be with them throughout this day. We pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Kevin, and thank you for all your prayers. Members, today's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our House intern, Riley Copeland. Riley attends Auburn University in Montgomery, majoring in business and internal relations. Riley.
Attention, salute, pledge. States of America and to the republic.
Clerk, call a roll.
Mr. Speaker, Allman, Baker, Edsel, Blackshear, Bolton, Boyd, Bracy, Brown, Butler, Carnes, Chestnut, Clark, Klaus, Cole, Collins, Colvin, Crawford, Daniels, Drummond, Dubose, Easterbrook, Ellis, England, Ensler, Estes, Faulkner, Fiddler, Fincher, Fort, Garrett, Gidley, Gibbons, Gavan, Gray, Hall, Hammett, Harbison, Harrison, Hassel, Hill, Hoke, Jones, Hollis, Hulsey, Hurst, Ingram, Jackson, Jones, Keel, Kirkland, Kitchens, Lamb, Lawrence, Lee, Lipscomb, Lomax, Lovern, Marcus, McCampbell, McClammy, Mooney, Moore M, Moore P, Morris, Oliver, Paramore, Pascal, Pettis, Plump, Pringle, Rafferty, Ream, Reynolds, Rigsby, Robbins, Robertson, Rogers, Sellers, Sells, Shaver, Shaw, Shed, Shiree, Simpson, Smith, Sorrell, South, Stahagen, Standridge, Starnes, Stringer, Stubbs, Tillman, Travis, Treadaway, Underwood, Wadsworth, Warren, Whit, Wharton, Wilcox, Wood D, Wood R, Woods, Yarborough.
Seventy-seven members have answered. Roll. Quorum is present. The House is ready to transact business. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that leaves of absence be granted for absent members.
Hearing no objections, absent members are excused. The chair further recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Mr. Speaker, I have a report.
House of Representatives, your Standing Committee on Rules begs leave to report that it has carefully examined the Journal of the House for the third legislative day and finds the same to be correct. Representative Joe Lovern, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the reading of the journal at length for the third legislative day be dispensed with.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Speaker Pro Tem Pringle, for purpose of making announcements.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. There are no announcements today. But I do move that when the House adjourns today, we reconvene on Tuesday, April the 4th at 1 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Tuesday the 4th at 1 p.m.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion prevails. The clerk now will receive reports from standing committee. Receive those reports throughout the day. The House is now in position to introduce bills and resolutions. The House will now receive resolutions from committee rules. The clerk will read the resolutions.
House Joint Resolution number 5 by Representative Mooney honoring the Alabama Association of Realtors for its 100th anniversary. House Joint Resolution number 7 by Representative Mooney commending Jeff Norris for outstanding professional achievement. Senate Joint Resolution number 5 by Senator Allen commending U.S. Senator Richard Shelby for his dedicated service to the state of Alabama. House Joint Resolution number 20 by Representative Daniels, honoring Boy Scouts of America on its 113th anniversary. House Joint Resolution number 21 by Representative Jackson, commending Gwendolyn Denise Richardson's inducted into the third class of J.F. Shields Monroe County Athletic Hall of Fame. House Joint Resolution number 24 by Representative Steinhagen, commending Colonel retired Mark Harold McDonald for retirement. House Joint Resolution number 25 by Representative Steinhagen, mourning the death of John Michael Robinson. House Joint Resolution number 27 by Representative Reynolds, commending Miss Christine Johnson for winning the 2023 American Legion Department of Alabama Oratorical Competition. House Joint Resolution number 28 by Representative Blackshear, congratulating the Glenwood School Boys Varsity Basketball Team on winning the 2023 3A State Championship. House Joint Resolution number 29 by Representative Smith, commending Coach William Earl Griffin for being inducted into the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame.
Mr. Speaker, I move for adoption.
All those in favor of adoption of resolutions in mass, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolutions are adopted. The clerk will call the individual resolutions.
House Joint Resolution number 6 by Representative Estes, naming a portion of State Highway 13 the Natural Bridge Parkway.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor, HJR, what was the number? 6, I'm sorry. All those in favor, HJR 6, say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted.
House Joint Resolution number 8 by Representative Rogers, recognizing March 2023 as Chronic Kidney Disease Awareness Month.
Mr. Speaker, move for adoption.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The resolution has been adopted.
House Joint Resolution number 9 by Representative Hall, designating the week of September 11th as Public Safety Week.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution has been adopted.
Senate Joint Resolution number 2 by Senator Wagner, committee appointed to notify the governor that the legislature is in session.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor of SJR 2, say aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Senate Joint Resolution number 3 by Senator Wagner, committee appointed to escort the governor to the joint session.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Senate Joint Resolution number 4 by Senator Reed, recognizing March as Women's History Month and honoring the women of Alabama.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor of SJR 4, say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have, it has been adopted.
House Resolution number 13 by Representative Steinhagen, recognizing March 21st through 27th as National Surveyors Week in the state of Alabama.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor of adoption, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
House Joint Resolution number 22 by Representative Gray, recognizing the Millennial Action Project in the Alabama caucus.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution is adopted.
House Joint Resolution number 26 by Representative Faulkner, recognizing the month of April 2023 as Alabama Native Plant Month.
Move for adoption.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted. The clerk will call the first bill on the regular order calendar.
On page 2 of the calendar, House Bill number 1 by Representative Simpson relating to controlled substances.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1 is a bill that will put mandatory minimum sentences on those that are convicted of trafficking fentanyl. This bill has been, the focus of this bill is to focus on the drug dealers and the drug traffickers So this bill will have increasing punishment. If they have between 1 and 2 grams of fentanyl, it'll be 3 calendar years mandatory minimum to serve. If they have between 2 and 4 grams of fentanyl, it'll be 10 calendar years for them to serve. If they have between 4 and 8 grams of fentanyl, it'll be 25 calendar years to serve. And if they have more than 8 grams of fentanyl, it'll be mandatory life in prison. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BIR.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Vann.
Representative Simpson, I did something this morning that I rarely do. I came here and I have about 5 pair of glasses. And I came here and I don't have one.
Oh, no.
And I have my notes for each bill, and I've talked with a couple of the sponsors of some of these bills. I didn't get a chance to speak with you, but I can't see a thing. Absolutely nothing. I can't even see anybody in here. I can't even hardly see you. But talk to me a little bit about the bill. Just let me get some clarity. I don't have any objection to this bill. My office actually sits right next to a mortuary. And it's a mortuary where they bring in every day 7, 8, 9, 10 bodies a day for cremation. And most of the cremations that they do are actually bodies that come in from fentanyl overdose.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see them as they are coming in from the health department. I see them as their unclaimed bodies. I've lost a cousin to fentanyl. I was asked just the other day to actually host a town hall meeting. I know there's someone in here that just hosted a town hall meeting in their legislative district. I think whoever represents Hoover. And I received a call about hosting one in my district. But just help me to understand the mandatory sentence and the threshold amount and the weight. If you,
Okay.
I just want to be clear on the weight, but I have no problem with your legislation one way or the other. I have someone just the other day, nice woman who someone laced something. I'm not going to get into what it was. That she had in her possession, and it almost caused her to overdose. She doesn't even do drugs.
Right.
So it's just that potent,
Yes, ma'am.
this drug. So just talk to me. I just need to get the clarity for my own.
So this is a sweet and low packet. Every restaurant, every place you go to, this sweet and low. This is 1 gram sweet and low. If this was fentanyl, this was pure fentanyl, it could kill every member of the House of Representatives 5 times over. So you can have 2 milligrams is a lethal dose of fentanyl. So for this 1 gram, it can kill up to 500 people. So when you say, you know, what we wanted to do was focus on, we're not going after the people that have the mixtures. The mixtures is already in the law. This is going after the people that have pure fentanyl, that have the single component of pure fentanyl. If you have this, the person that has this is not the addict, it's not the user, it's not the everyday person that you see on the street. The person that has pure fentanyl in these amounts are the traffickers and the drug dealers that are bringing it through.
And I'm glad you said that. And that's why I wanted to come here, because I make this argument all the time, you know, even dealing with the gun situation. During the 80s and the 90s, when there was the pandemic, and what I call it was the pandemic of crack cocaine. And of course, we can make the argument about the sentencing guidelines for crack cocaine versus powdered cocaines and all of that. But I also have made the distinguishing characteristics of why is it important to, we worry so much about the person selling it. That's number one. The realization is, even with the crack cocaine era, we went after those who were selling it, but it wasn't until you began a process of cracking down on the distributor of and the manufacturer of these drugs, and especially anything that is synthetic, that you had a better shot of beginning to stop it. So I have an appreciation for this bill because you're at least trying to get to the person who's actually manufacturing the drug.
Right.
Because if you don't get to the person and get to the root of where it's coming from, you can talk about the person selling it all day, but it has to come from some source. It has to be derived from some source. So I do have an appreciation for it, and I'm glad that we're at least passing or attempt to pass a piece of legislation where we're dealing with the person who is manufacturing the fentanyl or the drug itself. The weight, again, I'll leave some of this stuff alone because I just want to get the clarity on it. I have an appreciation for the bill, so I'm not here to, again, knock your bill, but I did want to get to go over the sentence itself. Mandatory sentence, first offense. I usually am not in favor of a mandatory sentence of any sort, but for this, there is such a crisis out here with this fentanyl, and the drug is so potent. So quickly, if you would go over for me the sentences that would be imposed for the with the mandatory sentence.
Okay. So if you have between 1 gram and 2 grams, so more than 1 but less than 2, is 3 years mandatory. If you have between 2 grams and 4 grams, it's 10 years mandatory. If you have between 4 grams and 8 grams, it's 25 years mandatory. And if you have more than 8 grams, it's mandatory life.
Now, I just want to make sure, now, are we still keeping the same parameters with the school zone if you're distributing in this within the range of the school zone, just like with other drug laws that are in place, or is this something set up totally different?
No, this is within the statute that is currently
Yes.
in all drug laws.
Good. I
So-
just wanted to make sure of that.
So just so you know, like if you're trafficking heroin, if you're trafficking morphine, if you're, methamphetamine, if you're trafficking cocaine, if you're trafficking marijuana, there are mandatory minimums to serve. Fentanyl is the only drug that there is no mandatory minimum.
So I just wanted to make sure they were in line with the mandatory sentencing as it relates to other drugs that are out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't, okay, so that's good. And so this law becomes in effect when?
The first day of the 3rd month following this approval and signature by the governor.
Okay, so that would be it's immediately.
Well,
Or
once it gets passed from the
once it's
Senate
passed by
and
the
the governor signs it, it'd be 3 months after
within
that.
3 months, so that's 90 days.
Yes, ma'am.
After, okay. Did you have what has been some of the feedback that you've gotten from this?
I've gotten the amount of feedback I've had has mostly been from families that have been affected by this.
What about the district attorney associations and all of these folks that have typically been involved in passing this type of legislation? What has been some of who all have you spoken with about the support for this bill?
I've spoken with the district attorney's office. I've spoken with the attorney general's office. I've spoken with the governor's
District
office.
Attorney Association.
District Attorneys Association.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes. They were instrumental in crafting the bill. We worked with the District Attorneys Association and the Department of Forensic Sciences to make sure the weight was there to come through.
And that's what I wanted to ask. Who did you speak with at the Department of Forensic Science?
The District Attorneys Association, I didn't speak with them personally. District Attorneys Association worked with them in the crafting of the bill. So we started this in probably May of last year. They worked with it until probably September before it was ready. So they had communications with the Department of Forensic Sciences on everything through there.
Do we have the stats? Because that's one of the things, I've been hearing all of these numbers, but did you get any of the stats as to the number of deaths per year that has come out of these counties from the, maybe from the medical examiner's offices? I used to keep up with it very closely.
I will tell you that the Jefferson County coroner has been tremendous as far as keeping stats, and that is
Absolutely,
that is
yes.
one of the best counties to go through for stats through
I
that.
used to keep up with it through our county medical examiner and coroner's office, so that's why I asked that. And I sort of fell off last year, and like I said, it's personal to me, but I would like to get those numbers, and so I'll probably reach back out. But all in all, I think it's a good bill.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that it was in line with the other, trafficking, and that it would fall in line with those. I wanted to get the clarity, of course, on the weight itself for each offense, and I'll just take a look at it. I don't have my glasses to read, so that's why I'm a little bit thrown off. But all in all, I don't have a problem with the legislation.
Thank
so
you.
I only get 10 minutes. You all take everything from me down here. So my people have said to me, whenever I get up here to take my whole 10, and I'm going to take my whole 10, so I only have about 11 seconds. So I have to make sure I at least take it all that I can get when I come in
Can I
this
say
door.
one thing?
Yes. I got 2 seconds.
Angelo
Ladies' time has
Delamana.
expired.
Angelo Delamana with the Department of Forensic
I was
Sciences.
wondering who that
The chair would like to recognize Zachary Thomas with Alabama Rare Newborn Screening and Rare Disease Advocate. He wants to be a politician. Maybe after today, he may rethink that. Who knows? Okay. The guests of Philip Rigsby, Debbie Wood, and Jeannie Savers. From Hartsville, Alabama, it's Doug and Luann Stevenson, and Nathan and Susan Kimball, and their guest of Representative Parker Moore and Leader Stat Hagan. The chair recognizes a gentleman from Fayette, Representative South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Simpson, thank you for bringing this bill. I know it's been a lot of hard work and time and effort put into it, and we appreciate you bringing it today.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Chairman Collins from Morgan.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that. I want to thank you for your work on this bill. I've worked with you. You allowed me to be a co-sponsor. I thank you. I've had so many people in my community that have brought this to my attention and even wanted to have my own bill that it was a weapon of mass destruction, but it is. So
It sure is.
strong penalties are important. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank the lady. The chair recognizes a gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Rogers. While Representative Rogers is coming up, we'd like to recognize the junior ambassadors of Pike County Chamber of Commerce. The guest of Marcus and Perry Moore, Charlie Henderson High School, Pike Liberty Arts School.
Hey, I like your beer.
Thank you.
One of the very few I like. But I got another problem that I'm gonna tie in, so I'll be germane. I'll see you speaking later on. Can they put fentanyl in water? Can the Waterworks Board in Birmingham, Jefferson County, who they trying to take over, find a way to put fentanyl in water? Hey,
Representative
I'm talking
Rogers, let's stay germane to the bill.
Hey, I'm talking about water.
Yes, sir, I
I'm talking about
understand
water,
that.
talking about water, right?
That's a topic for a different day.
talking about fentanyl, right?
I'm talking about fentanyl, yes.
I'm talking about fentanyl.
You're talking about water.
They go together. And I heard on TV, on Channel 13, that just a little residue of fentanyl in your pocket could cause concern of a child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a child in Birmingham. We had 7 folks kids get sick at school from the candy. Some kid had passed out because they had fentanyl in it. They don't know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to send 7 kids to the hospital, or 6 or 1, because it caused the powder residue of the fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very supportive of your bill.
Well, thank you.
I told you that the other day. I like your bill. I love it to death.
You love it. I don't love it to death now.
No, it's not the bill. I'm crazy about your bill. I really do. I like it. But my concern is also the fact that since fentanyl is so potent, if I had a Waterworks Board that had some fentanyl in their pocket, and they went to check on the water, and they talking to us, but they put their hand in their pocket, got that fentanyl in their head. Well, they gonna pour the fentanyl for the water for Jefferson County. It didn't have to be for Jefferson County. So that's your main, Mr. Speaker. Now I'm talking about water and fentanyl. I mean, you can get it to them any kind of way you want to get to.
Here's what you have.
Okay, all right, Kevin.
If they're in possession of that much fentanyl, they're going to go to prison.
Okay, but suppose they got a way to get in there. And now, if they had the fentanyl in their pocket.
Thank you. And
they're on the Waterworks board now. So they got a right to go in there and check out, talk to the Waterworks employee. If I got fentanyl in my pocket, I go in there and shake your hand, and you get fentanyl in your hand, and you go there and do with the chemical with the water, that water contaminated, right?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think fentanyl is soluble in water.
It's not?
No.
Well, I heard on TV the other day. I mean, I've been checking on the fentanyl because, see, they call that fentanyl can get involved when the guy's selling drugs now, okay?
Oh, with guys selling drugs, yes.
Yeah, because of the fact that they are not scientists. So therefore, when they wear out the ingredient when they add to stretch the drugs, people don't want the regular drugs anymore. They want the dirty. Mm-hmm. They call those drugs dirty, right? Mm-hmm. That's a synonym for the drugs if they sell with fentanyl. Mm-hmm. So therefore, your bill is very good. Because I've seen they have 3 or 4 deaths in Birmingham. They have 3 or 4 deaths. Last week they had 5 folks that died from fentanyl overdose who never knew they had fentanyl overdose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they buy these dirty drugs, marijuana, with a lace of fentanyl in it.
Right.
And they require now that everybody have like the fire department have a shot they can turn around their drug overdose.
Well, that's one of the things that we're trying to do. And it's not in this bill, but it's specifically with the opioid settlement that we're trying to do, is we're trying to educate the public on the dangers of opioids and dangers of fentanyl specifically. So they've got that $300 million roundabout verdict that's gone to the AG's office. They're going to spend half of that at least, half's going to the cities, half's going to the state. And the purpose of that is to get out to the community, to tell the community the dangers of fentanyl, to get with the counseling, to help with the treatment options, to make sure that we don't, we help the people that are going through the addicts and the users. We get them the help they need to get off of it. But this is going after the distributors, the traffickers, the people that are bringing it into the community.
Okay, I'm glad. I read your bill. I read thoroughly. I told you earlier, I like your bill.
You did, yes, sir.
I love it because the fact that I've seen it happen to folks in my community.
Well, I've seen you love a bill to death, so that's when you said love one to death. I don't want you to do that.
I just want to get a point across. Hey, I got an appointment to see the speaker later on. I'm gonna go see the speaker. We're gonna talk about what my problem is later on. But I figure I can talk to him. But the fentanyl thing is really a serious problem. And what I don't understand is that when Michael Jackson passed, mm-hmm. he passed from overdose of fentanyl. Mm-hmm. When Prince died, mm-hmm. he died from overdose of fentanyl. Mm-hmm. So to me, I can't understand how the so-called chemical analysts who mix the fentanyl with the good marijuana, the thing about ounces of how much ounces it take can sell it, but people seem to want to buy that dirty. I've never they call it now. On the street they call that the dirty. Mm-hmm. I don't want the regular marijuana. I want the dirty. Uh-huh. And because it stink like hell. You can ride down the street. I can tell you right now what it smells like. Mm-hmm. But you come down, and that's why they put it fountain. So now, how are we going to get to the person who I want to find out how we get to the source of the fentanyl from the first shot.
All right, so
that's what I want to find out.
So that's what we're doing. Is a lot of the fentanyl is coming through the border, and it's being trafficked on the way up here. So you hear all the time about traffic stops. You hear all the time about the people that are actually bringing it into the community. What we're doing is we're going after those people, the people that are bringing it into the community, the traffickers on that corridor that's getting it through. That's who we're going after.
Okay, now tell me, I read a bit. How are you gonna get to them? That's what I'm interested in your bill. How do you get to them?
When we get the stops, when we get everything through, and you have that amount when we have these amounts of fentanyl in there. That's the thing. Like this little packet here can kill 500 people.
Right.
So if you have this amount of fentanyl, you know you have this amount of fentanyl. This isn't the guy on the street.
No.
This is the big traffickers that are bringing this stuff through. So when we get them and the police and the law enforcement have them stop and they recover these drugs on those stops, when they get the people that are trafficking, that's when our law enforcement officers can know that those people are the ones we're going after.
Do you have it broke down by grams in your bill? I didn't see that part.
I do have it broken down by
grams in the bill, but how much is, I mean, one thing when an ounce of fentanyl would kill you dead as a doorknob. I mean, it'll take with a drop.
2 milligrams is a lethal dose.
Right. So now, have you broken it down? I haven't seen it when you broke it down. Why you gonna make it? I mean, I'd like for you to hang him. I personally would like for you to hang them, and I don't go for hanging. But to me, because the kids are getting.
That's it.
What bothers me more than anything else, and what scares me, I'm scared they're gonna start this vapor stuff. They put them damn bubble gum flavors in the vaping going on. That might transient over there.
They're doing it.
And I heard about that, so I'm quite I'm quite concerned about it. But I had thought about putting the fentanyl in water. I'm talking to speak about that later on, if you don't mind about that. I don't know where it's gonna come up or not. But I'm gonna sit down with Dr. Ledbetter. We gonna discuss it. What's what? Because the fact that I'm concerned about fentanyl. I went there, I heard this bill. I would hurt myself. I could take no fentanyl, but I would hurt myself if I heard this bill because it's so needed.
Well, I'm going to open it up for co-sponsors at the end of this.
I don't usually do that, but I'll be the first one to put my light on.
All right.
On there.
All right. That sounds like a deal. You did. You most certainly did.
And but I didn't know I had the water problem till all the new people got to call me last night. And I gotta say it I gotta make sure the fentanyl get in that water. So
I have been informed that fentanyl is not soluble in water, so that's one relief you don't have to worry about.
Well, you might not wash his hand. If you don't wash his hand, he mess around and touch that. I'm just scared that you might not wash your hand and get it, but the alcohol get it cleaned up good. But I'm for you, Bill. I wouldn't dare heard it. But Bill Speaker, can I come talk to you later on about some stuff? You don't mind? I know you already had your door open. I want you to go talk to the Speaker's office. I just stay away, but this time I got to come talk to you, okay? All right, I feel like I can, okay? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Mobile, Representative Drummond. That was fourth speaker on the BIR. Let me get more. Question for the body is adoption of the BIR on HB1. All those in favor, vote aye. Any opposed, vote no. The clerk will unlock the machines and members will vote.
Tuggle.
All members voted.
Somebody vote Eastern.
BR passes 104-0. Chairman Simpson.
Mr. Speaker, with that, I move for final passage.
Thank you. We got a couple more lights on. At this time, I'd Representative Jackson from Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend the gentleman for bringing this legislation.
Thank you.
I live in Southwest Alabama. Baldwin County has a problem. The state has a problem.
Yes, sir.
Maybe the nation has a problem, but the only way we're going to curtail this is by doing some teeth in our laws. We got to enact. And so I want to say to you who are listening, we don't know how many of our family members' lives could be saved that we could stop some of this trafficking and make these guys who are putting this poison in our communities pay a price that will be so deep into their pockets until they'll never see the light again. We've had friends in our community to die from fentanyl, see, this stuff is real. I mean, that was a person got sick right at the hospital. They picked up a $20 bill that was coated with this stuff. And so we got to understand that this stuff is deadly, and it's coming from the south border. And if we don't curtail it now, we're going to lose another generation of people. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Mobile, Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rose, Representative, to sort of join the choir because I was happy about this bill, but I wanted to put, just because you and I have kindling hearts. You know, I am an advocate for young people as it relates to vaping and e-cigarettes and all of those things, and I know that you are. And so I just want to tell the body that this piece of legislation is so important to that issue as well. Many can remember in Selma, not very long ago, a young person vape pipe was laced with fentanyl. You know, this stuff is coming out of place of China and so forth, and we don't know what's in those pipes. So I applaud you, and I hope the body will pass this legislation because it's not just about catching traffickers, but it's also safeguarding the welfare of our young people. So thank you.
Thank you.
The chair thanks the lady. The chair recognizes the ladies from Jefferson, Ms. Gavan. Question before the body is final passage of HB 1. All those in favor will vote aye. All opposed, no. The clerk will unlock the machines and members will vote. Clerk, lock the machines. 105 ayes, 0 noes. HB 1 has passed. Congratulations, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I have had a number of requests from members of the body to open it up for co-sponsors.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? House co-sponsors bill.
Mr. Speaker, you got to open up the machine. Could I say something now? I've been here 28 years, Mr. Speaker. It's the first time I ever saw 105 votes on that machine.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Clerk will unlock the machines for co-sponsors. All those voting? All the members voted. Clerk lock machines. 101 co-sponsors. Congratulations, Chairman Simpson.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the body.
The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson for a point of personal privilege. Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm gonna wait till you can hear. Okay.
Chair
Two
recognizes Lady-
two issues that I have. One is, I know in the past, if a legislator were to go into a committee meeting that they weren't a part of and had the opportunity to ask a question, they were allowed to. The question I have you is the new practice that if we're not on that committee, we can't ask questions.
Well, if you've asked to be put on the agenda, you certainly can.
Well, it was an information committee meeting, so it seems to me that it should have been open. If you ask for, if it's an information meeting only, you ought to be able to ask questions. In the past, we have not had to be put on their agenda to just sit in on a meeting and something comes up and we ask a question. The reason I've got the concern now, Mr. Speaker, the reason I have concern now with one of the rules we passed in organization session where we'll be looking to put more amendments on bills while they're in committees. Well, a lot of us don't serve on some of these major committees where we might want to ask questions or be able to amend them, because when those bills hit the floor, they will already be engrossed. And it's going to be really hard at that time to take off what would have been put on in the committee. So that's a concern of mine, that if I go in to hear a bill because I'm not in the committee, but I want to find out more about it, that I'm not allowed to even ask a question if I'm sitting in that committee.
Yes, ma'am. It's regular order. It flows through the committee chairman, and you have a right to change.
It has not happened. This is my, 21st year? All of these new things have just started. Whenever a legislator, whether it's from the Senate or the House, go into a committee that they don't sit in, and if there's a question on whatever bill they're dealing with, if they raise their hand to ask a question or comment on it, they've been allowed to do it. Which leads me to the question also, is it going to be the practice in this body that certain ones of us, speech will be limited? Because that's what it appeared to be when I was in the committee on yesterday, that only certain ones of us could talk. We're not on these major committees. You didn't put us on these major committees, so we don't have a voice. And then if you're going to come back and change the rules, that you're going to put all these amendments on in the committee, then only time I'll have to speak to that will be once it hits the floor. Then when I speak to it a couple times on the floor, do you intend to have whoever your minion is going to be, do you intend to bring the previous motion to limit our conversation or speech in the Alabama House of Representatives that's supposed to be the people's house?
No, ma'am. Those bills are put in our computer, and you know when they're coming up. You can look through.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. Wait. It's my time. It's my time.
No. Okay. That's
okay. We're going to finish this before I gavel you.
Well, you're going to gavel me anyway, but I'd like to get to my second. I'll put my light back on to speak on all these other bills so that I can get my point out.
Okay.
Because I know you're going to gavel me, but I think that is wrong, and the public need to know. You smile and stuff at people, but
your time is up.
Thank you. I have my light on every bill.
Clerk, call the next bill on calendar.
On page 4 of the calendar, House Bill number 101, by Representative Shaver relating to adoption.
Chair recognizes Chairman Shavers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HB 101 is a total replacement of the Alabama Adoption Code with two separate codes, the Alabama Minor Adoption Code and the Alabama Adult Adoption Code. First of all, I want to introduce this bill by saying this is not a Jenny Shaver bill. This is an Alabama Law Institute bill. The Alabama Law Institute began working on this issue over 4 years ago. And the committee working on the bill comprised of professionals from all areas involved in the adoption process. We had current and retired judges, adoption attorneys, representatives from DHR, and all the stakeholders at the table. They had been working on it for quite some time before I got involved in it late in 2021. I had some ideas about adoption, and that's how I found out about the committee. So I started listening in with the committee's work at that time and listening to all the discussions related to every aspect of adoption. And when I tell you that this bill has been thoroughly vetted, I mean every section and every paragraph has been poured over, discussed, debated by the people who actually are in the business and in all areas of the process of adoption. I don't know that I've ever heard of any legislation that's been so thoroughly combed like this one has. And I want to give the committee the appreciation and for this bill, because they've done the work and they need to get the credit for this bill. They worked very hard. They met every other week for 3 hours over 4 years. That's some dedication and commitment. And these are busy people, you know, they're attorneys and judges, and they took their time they cared so much about this issue to spend that amount of time drafting the bill. It does, like I said, it divides adoption into minor adoption code and the adult adoption code. Our focus was to streamline the adoption process, to update the language, to make it more clear, to make it easier for people going through the process to know exactly what they needed to do. It sets guidelines and definite time parameters to move the process along faster. There's 10 different areas where there were time savings. Now, not every adoption is going to, have those 10 different items to come up, but it'll certainly move things along faster by having those time savings in place. It also clarifies which court is the proper jurisdiction to hear an adoption case, which if they're filed in the probate court is the primary court, but there could be issues that have to be heard by a juvenile court. And so this enables the different courts to communicate with each other with our advances in technology and be able to electronically transfer documents. That saves us time and speed things along. It ensures the confidentiality and the safety issues concerning adoption. And those are just some of the highlights that I would like to point out. And I know that adoption is a very personal issue for many in our chamber and, of course, with our constituents at home. I'm personally affected by adoption, and I know there are other members in this room who are personally affected by adoption. And so, like I said, our goal was to make it, streamlined, faster, and easier. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move for the BIR.
First person to speak on the BR, Representative Ellis from Shelby. While he's on his way down here, we'll recognize Leadership St. Clair. The guests are Representative Hill, Randy Wood, Lipscomb, and DeBose. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. I just want to come commend you for this. I know you've worked on it for a while, and we've got tons of babies that that need good homes and tons of families that want to give them those good homes. And I know you worked hard, and I just want to commend you and thank you for bringing the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair recognizes a lady from Jefferson, Representative Van.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm just Jenny. I'm Jenny from the block. Jenny, what's up? Doing all right?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Listen, again, I don't have my glasses. Very unfortunate for me today. So I can't even read my notes, but I think this is a great piece of legislation. So the Republicans are on a roll today. I know it won't last with me. It's coming. I've already received multiple calls from the media as well as others as to when that moment will come. It's coming. So stay tuned. But I don't have a problem with this bill. I do want clarity as it relates to just the streamlining of the adoption process. I've passed several ALI bills, so I like the way you prefaced this. This is not a Jenny Shavers bill. This is an ALI bill, so that's code word for don't beat me up. But there's still questions to be asked. Let's talk about the posting. The posting now, there's a process with this bill. You'll simply be able to post notice.
If you're talking about the service.
The service,
If service has been attempted twice and not able to complete the service, then notification can be therefore made by posting.
And that would be where? In the post office, excuse me, on the website?
Building like that. Well, we don't have.
Courthouse?
We're working on, being able to post online. We don't have that capability in every issue yet, but, at the courthouse, also publication in a newspaper.
Okay, so we don't know exactly how that posting will be.
Let me get to it. I'm sorry, it's 80 pages. It'll take me a minute. Do you know where that is, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get that section. I don't have it before me. I just took some notes. That's what I was saying. I don't have my glasses, so it's not going to help me one way or the other. I just thought that you may have it.
Well, it's in here, but it'll take me.
Okay, so let me just kind of move quickly. The clear and convincing evidence with regards to, let's talk about the hearing process on the waiver of the hearing process. If you can just talk about a few points, and then I think if you just go through those quick changes in the streamlining process with the hearing, if you would just touch on that for me.
The streamlining of the hearings?
Mm-hmm. I think you can waive the hearing, some of the hearings.
Be more specific. Which hearings are you talking about?
Like, I think let me go back through because I scripted my notes. I can't even see my own writing, and it's very unfortunate. Let's just go through a couple of the high points, and I'll tell you, because I can't see. I promise you I can't.
Well, if there's an issue like termination of parental rights, that's the thing that takes the most time. So if that's bumped to the juvenile court to settle, then, when that issue is settled, then it can go back, it'll then go back to the probate court for final disposition.
Oh, okay. So we're moving from 4 months, from 6 months to 4 months.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, I got you. So that is, okay. So that would be for, I guess, for abandonment or what have you, if a parent is determined to have been
for implied consent.
Implied consent and all that. So we're changing that.
Yeah.
And what's the rationale for that?
Well, just trying to save time. I mean, how much time do you consider an abandoned child to be abandoned? 6 months is a long time in the life of an infant and a child. And so how long do you wait? So we shaved that down to 4 months because certainly anyone who, intends to raise and keep their child, they would have contact within 4 months, one would think.
Okay, and let's talk about the implied consent. After 30 days, what are we doing with that? If they have not responded, it's deemed to have been determined what? If someone failed to respond?
The 30 days is in responding to a notice.
Just a notice?
Right. Mhm. Yeah, it's 4 months for the implied consent.
Okay, and what about the post judgments? We're moving from 14 moving to 14 days?
Yes.
Post judgment from 30 days to 14 days.
Right.
So basically you all are just going in and reducing a lot of the time out as
Just
it relates.
setting, trying to reduce the amount of time and trying to move things along a little
Move things
faster.
along faster.
Not do away with them, just move them along. I mean, people's rights need to be protected. We're just trying to help it along a little faster.
Okay, and then the rebuttable presumption standards.
Yes, I mean, it's presumed to be true unless proven otherwise.
Okay. Just trying to go through a couple of things that I had noted, just trying to get the clarity again on the dates, on the times, making sure, especially on the, that posting, because a lot of times folks, fathers, especially if there become issues with the parents, folks can use anything as a little issue or what have you. She's helping you out now?
She won't know what I wanted for lunch.
Oh, and you're dealing with the bill and she's bringing you. Now, see, that's when it takes me into a whole nother stratosphere. I'm up here on a bill and she's going to walk over here when it's my time and bring her a note. And that's how things go real bad in this chamber. So, because this is important for me to be standing up here because I'm trying to get clarity because I handle adoption. And so I don't want you coming up here handing someone a note about lunch when I'm up here addressing legislation. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that clarity since I've been reduced and zeroed out on an important subject to address what Debbie wants for lunch. But anyway, so is there anything else that you have with regards to this legislation that's changing?
Well, I think we covered the high points. Trying to see what did I not mention. I've talked about it so much. We talked about court procedures. It facilitates investigations. And it just really enhances the protections, makes improvements in the pleadings, and so.
Okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just wanted to get the high points of the bill, those things that were changing. And again, I have my notes, but I can't see my notes.
One important point we haven't talked about is change of venue.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Let's talk about that.
If it's filed in the home court of the adoptee or the adoptive parents, or if they're in the military, but this would allow for a change of venue if for a good cause shown. For example, in large metropolitan areas like Jefferson, Mobile, where their court docket may be filled up, take a long time to get to it, then a change of venue can be requested to a less busy court so that the adoption case can be heard faster. So I think that's a major improvement.
Yeah, and that was the one thing, that was my biggest concern about the length of time, kind of shifting out with the length of time that it takes to get you to an adoption process. And it does seem like this bill would help us to streamline, especially getting us beyond a 6-month time period to more of a 90-day,
120 days.
Roughly 90, 120-day time period. And in some places, hopefully less than that, of course, depending upon the docket of the court system. The ones that I've handled in Jefferson County have gone quite swiftly, pretty fast. Yeah, I've not had a problem over the years, and especially Judge Friday has done an excellent job. And of course, Judge King, when he was presiding judge, did an excellent job moving the docket. And then, of course, sometimes the relationship you have with the judges also.
The lady's
and
time
then-
has expired.
took
The chair recognizes a gentleman from Mobile, Representative Shary. While he's on his way down here, would like to recognize the Saraland City School System
Okay.
for Representative Stringer, Shane Stringer. Let's give them a big hand for being here with us today. Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lot of firsts for me today. This is the first time for me to come to the well. Also the first time I've co-sponsored a bill. Jenny, thank you for allowing me to do that. This bill is very personal to me as my wife is adopted. I think this bill will streamline the adoption process and modernize it. And I thank the lady for all her hard work, and I urge the members to pass this bill.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, be the fourth person to speak on the BR, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This one.
Lady, will you yield?
Yes.
Now, in the process of you, whoever put this bill together, do you think that all of the people that had an opportunity to have input, were they given due time to speak about their opinions or their suggestions for this bill?
Well, I mean, we're having it now.
No, I ask you, in the process of putting this bill together, you named off a lot of people who helped put the bill together. I'm asking you if they were given due process and the appropriate time and allowed to voice their opinion or comments or whatever suggestions they had in order to get the bill into the form that it is today.
Well, there were other representatives who had some ideas about adoption, as I do.
Right.
And when I've got involved in the process, it's because I had some ideas that I thought would help.
Were you on the committee?
I'm still speaking. That's how I got involved in it.
When you first
And
got
then
involved,
when I got involved with the committee, my focus began to.
But let me ask you this.
I'm still answering the first question.
No, but you're still on my time, so you got to work with me. When you first got involved, were you on the committee?
No.
But they allowed you to have input.
Yes.
Because you were concerned, right?
Yes, there were
And you
other
think
members.
and that's the way it ought to be, shouldn't it?
There were other members involved.
Right,
as well.
that was right. But you were not
Chairman Collins.
specifically on the committee, but you were given the opportunity to voice your concern because you thought it was an issue that you were concerned about and you had some ideas.
I did not bring my ideas into the committee. I worked with the committee on.
But you weren't on the committee, but they still allow you to share your ideas.
I was on the committee. I did not share my separate ideas about adoption in relation to this bill. I have other ideas about adoption.
But then when you gave your intro, you did not say that. You said that you got concerned by listening at an issue that was before the committee prior to you being on the committee.
No, ma'am.
I'm just going on what you had to say, ma'am.
Well, I think
That's all.
maybe, there's a misunderstanding. No, I had issues about adoption that I wanted to work on, and I contacted LSA about drawing up
But you were
legislation.
not
was not on the committee.
Okay. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
I was
you
not
still
on
were
the-
allowed to have an input without being on the committee. That's all
Not
I'm
about my
saying.
issues. I did not bring.
I'm just saying that you did have an opportunity to do that. And I
did
think
not
that's
bring
the
my
way
issues
we
to
as
the committee.
legislators work, that we govern the whole state of Alabama, even though we're elected from a district, we represent the whole state. And in the way we do that, we have various committees that are put into place that deal with various issues as it relate to the state of Alabama. And any one of us, whether we're a part of that committee or not, we have that opportunity to get the information and have an opportunity to present it to that committee at some point in time. So my concern is, and it sounded like there were a lot of people that worked with you and others to get this bill to the state where it is now, where you're able to come and present it to the body. And at this point, then we have additional time where we could stand and speak how we felt about, like my previous colleague that was interested in certain aspects of your bill, but she still was given due process to do that. I'm saying as a legislator, we ought to have that same due process regardless of the point of development of any bill that eventually we all will face on this floor, because we are elected from districts, but we represent every citizen in the state of Alabama. And at some point in time, we have the opportunity and should have the opportunity at every stage of the cycle of a bill to be able, or an issue, be able to speak to that issue and offer up our concerns or whatever issues we have, or comments or research that we've done that would make it, improve it, or be able to be discussed as a process of that bill that you're working on. That's all I'm saying, that we have to do it. I know in your initial comment, you're trying to, I guess, denounce anything I'm saying, but at the end of the day, I still stand on that it takes a lot of us to have input. And then we have a staff that have input. We have people that are not legislators. There are also people that don't work for the Alabama legislature. And it's a terrible shame that they would have more input in the process of us governing the state of Alabama than some of us, because of the party we're associated or the color of our skin. And I'm going to get that point out on every bill, because we don't have input. We only have a limited opportunity. Either we know that it's going to be in a committee and we could go to the committee, but once we get to the committee, if we're not allowed, because we're not a member of that committee, to say anything, once that opportunity is gone, it gets out of the committee and it comes to the floor. Once it gets to the floor, that's our next opportunity to be able to speak if we were not successful in the committee. Then with the new rules that have been passed, with an attempt to put as many amendments on these bills while they're in the committee, and so that when it comes to the floor, they're already engrossed. And we know that it's very difficult if we are not content with the amendments that have been put on. It's going to be difficult for us to take it off. So at some point in time, the public and everybody else need to know that somewhere along the line, it's already been decided that certain ones of us have limited conversation, limited input, limited participation in the process of making decisions so that we can govern the state of Alabama. I take issue to it, Mr. Speaker. I take issue to it to the Republican Party. I take issue to it to the Democratic Party. Anybody that tries to limit another member of this body's speech, I take issue, and I'll be addressing it for the entire session. Thank you.
Well, just for clarity, Representative.
Chair thanks the lady. The fourth person to speak on the BR. The question before the body now is the adoption of the BR. All those in favor will say aye. I vote aye. I'm sorry. If y'all forgive me for that one mistake, anyway. The question before the body is adoption of the BIR. Those in favor, clerk will unlock the machines, record the vote.
I'm good.
Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 105 ayes, 0 nays. BR passes. Chairman Shavers.
Mr. Speaker, there's a committee sub.
Yes, ma'am. Explain the substitute, please.
There was a technical amendment in the committee that just 3 words are left out on page 25, and I'll have to give you that line number. It was just an error in our last working draft when it was typed up for the final draft, page 25, line 693. The 3 words "an unknown father" were not needed there. It's already, that's in the beginning of the paragraph on line 688. So the line should just read "mother have been previously terminated as to the adoptee." And I'm moved to adopt the committee sub.
Chairman moves to adopt the committee sub. Clerk will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes the lady from Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to follow. Did you say page 25?
Page 25, line 693.
Line 693, it reads that is known about biological parentage of the adoptee. This is the substitute we're on, right?
I'm looking at the original, but the amendment on the original bill.
So now.
Okay, in the substitute, I'm sorry, since it was re-engrossed, it's a different line number. I apologize. It's page 23, line 644 in the committee engrossed bill. I apologize.
I see that.
Thank you.
All right. Do I get to come back? Because I just wanted to what I was trying to do is make sure, because what she said and what I read, they didn't go together.
Yes, ma'am. We're not on the sub yet. So we got a motion to adopt it at this time.
So I get to come back to speak to the.
Yes, ma'am. Those are the lights on. If you want to talk about the sub or the adoption of the sub. We're not on it yet. Let us adopt it first. Okay. The motion now is to adopt the sub. Clerk will unlock the machines. Members will vote. Everybody voted. Clerk will lock the machines. 102 ayes, 0 nays. Sub's been adopted.
Mr. Speaker, can we ask?
Yes, ma'am. Point of personal privilege.
We have spoken on the adoption of the son. But I was asking you that. Yeah, but my light was on before you called me. But my light was on before you did. Mr. Speaker, that ain't right. My light was on before.
At this time, I'd call on the gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Rogers.
Get down to the point you got to have certain regulations for certain adoptions, right? Down here where it says that but you can adopt an adult. Tell me how they adopt an adult. What that means? Explain that. Break it down for me. adopted? Do you mean somebody who has a problem, mental problem or something?
If they're incapacitated, that would be one reason why someone would want to adopt someone who's over the age of majority, over 18. Yes, that would be one reason.
I'm telling you why I'm concerned about that. I'm for it. I don't have no problem with that, but I have a bill that I want to create where people have a educational disability or whatever, that they can go to school at age 26 like they do in other states. Right now, we get Alabama, we cut them off before you get 26. So I got a bill to adopt what they do in other states to of a child, if a person has a mental disability, they're in school, like in other states, they've stayed at age 26. So they get that parent needed. And also, I'm concerned about the fact that when a child or adult who has no identification on them whether or not they have this problem, they get stopped by the police, whether they don't know they look normal, but they're not. And they should be identified, and the parents should have a way that they can be identified that this particular person is mentally challenged. And so I'm not against your bill. I'm saying when I saw that part, I want to make sure they're dealing with that problem. Is that right?
This bill does not address any of those issues. This is about adoption.
The part I was looking at, I'm serious about the fact you said provide procedure adopted an adult. Is that what you mean? A person with
That would be one reason, a person who's incapacitated and not able to make,
I'm not trying to
decisions.
feel the bus, Bill. Y'all don't get scared. I'm trying to. I'm sure what I was concerned about.
Okay. There's already procedures for adult adoption. This separates those procedures from minor adoptions because it's a little bit different. There's not the studies that have to be done. A judge can order studies to be done, but it's just a little different, for a person who's an adult. This requires the adoptive family, the parents, to be 10 years older than the adoptee, that kind of protection.
That was my concern. Are you changing the procedures to adopt an adult? All right, say for instance, John Doe has a normal child, but he has a little mental problem. I mean, just a little bit one. Are you going to change procedures? He's already with one family. Say the other family get incapacitated. Are you going to change procedure for this adult to be adopted so you can care for them, or what?
That would be one circumstance where someone might. So what if this person, say they're 26 years old and their natural parents die, and then they have siblings who may just for whatever purposes want to be their a legal parent, then, or just somebody who's not blood related, who's going to care for that person, for the rest of their life. They may want to have that parent-child relationship legally to be able to take care of that person.
Well, I understand it. That was my only question. My question. Don't think I'm trying to kill a bill.
Oh no, sir. I didn't think that. If I was
I'm really concerned about that fact, because I'm very concerned about the fact. Like I said, I have a bill, similar bill, that addresses the problem. But I'm having a problem. I know a lot of handicapped kids and adults.
Yes, sir.
And what happens is that I'm to my own bill. I have a problem when they get stopped by they look healthy. When they get stopped by the police, they don't understand what's going on. So they start reacting. So I got an idea where somewhere they can be identified that this particular person has a handicap problem. And they won't go out and just start shooting. So they can't understand what's going on. And when I know you're talking about a handicapped person, I assume you're talking about that, right?
Yeah, someone who has mental incapacitation and not able to make decisions on their own. Yes, sir.
Okay,
that would be one circumstance.
But the other question I was asking you before I get sit down, what procedure are you going to change on that? They got a procedure already.
It separates it from minor adoption because there's fewer procedures in place. So it just sets it apart, makes it clear for those involved in the process to be able to see 123, this is what you do for an adult adoption.
Okay, I was very concerned about that because I don't want any conflict with what I'm trying to do, and I'm asking for your help to find and help these adults and kids who have this problem. Because you know, when they get upset, I don't know if you've been around, they get all frustrated, right? And I just don't want that to affect them. They're adults, they get 18, 21 sometimes, they grow. They start out young, but they grow to get 21, they still got the same problem. I ain't want anything to be in this bill that'll affect anything to hurt them on down the line.
I don't think so. No, sir. Don't see it in there. That's really not germane to the bill.
Okay, well, that's all I'm concerned about. But you guarantee me that it's not going to change any of the procedure we got now, solely for those particular people.
Well, it separates it out. It separates adult adoptions from minor adoptions. It specifies that it's the probate court who the petitioners are, that if the petitioner is married, that both petitioners have to be on the petition to file, that the petitioners have to be 10 years older than the adult they're adopting for that protection. So, you know, those are the main points.
Well, I assume you're talking about if like a parent get older and they pass on, that a sibling can turn around and adopt that particular person who has to be mentally challenged, right?
They could. There is an exception for the 10-year age difference if good cause is shown to the judge that, you know, they're closer in age than 10 years and they want to, it's in the best interest of the adoptee to be adopted.
But I just want to guarantee that because I'm very concerned. We started talking about challenge people like that. I'm concerned about. So if you guarantee me that's not going to change them, I'm okay. Okay.
There will still be able to be adopted, and it makes it easier.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Representative Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the lady yield.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I wanted to say that the issue of adoption is certainly close to my heart. My daughter, my only daughter, is adopted. And so as you were giving your statements as it relates to the adoption process, are you able to tell me today how many individuals are up for adoption or are eligible for adoption today? If we would.
The latest number I saw is 220. There's over 220 that have the rights have been terminated who are ready to adopt.
So we know that those individuals already have been in parental rights and everything have been terminated.
Yes, ma'am.
So that part is all right. When I look through your substitute, well, I'll start on page 23. And you indicated that when you struck through that, it says unknown father. You're at the bottom of page 23?
Yes, ma'am.
And unknown father. So in the case, this particular case here of the parental rights, mother, and why did we strike that out?
Because the paragraph starts out on line 639 in the case of an unknown father, that it was already there. It's establishing who we're talking about.
Where is it located before?
Line 639. Because we're talking about a specific case of an unknown father.
Right.
So if he's unknown, he couldn't be previously terminated. So
exactly.
we needed to strike that for clarity.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So I looked at.
And I appreciate you pointing that out because we can always count on you to read the bill.
I don't know about all that. Just I want to know what's going on. We got through what you thought was. The other changes that I saw from your original really started, I think, on page 73. Help me if I'm wrong. And on this page, I could see that as being technical. I'm at line 2032.
I don't know what that
it was the juvenile legal files described in subdivision, and then it went from number 1 of subsection, and then it shows up with A, shall be maintained in a separate file.
Yes, ma'am, it's redlined and stricken. I do not know why that's there. I think that may have just been, because this is a total replacement. So that was not in the amendment. So we need to find out why.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming those are the technical things that you were talking about.
No, ma'am, that's unknown to me. So
you have a couple other, what I thought was technical. Go to page 74. On page 2045.
Yes, ma'am, I see those.
Okay, so at 2045, 2046.
I don't know why those are in this
I was trying to determine, let me tell you what I was trying to determine. It said the parent, and then it looks like that's going to be a parenthesis, or is it the blue that it was the major change? I'm thinking, so you had a comma coming after parent, except when parental rights have been terminated. Instead of having the parentheses on line 2045 and line 2046, we removed the parentheses and put a comma.
Let me look at my original draft to see, because I don't know that that's a computer glitch with our new system, because those things were not changed in the amendment. Those changes were, I believe, in the original draft. And so we are not changing existing code, we are replacing code. So those things should not be there.
Oh, and I'm just telling you how I read it. Looks like you're getting some help.
Well, I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know. Looks like she's getting help. I mean, is that okay? He's. All right, I'm checking my time.
Somebody remember okay. We're trying to find out why the red line stricken is in there, because it was not in the original, those lines did not show up in the original draft. And so why it's showing up in the in committee engrossed bill copy, I do not know. So I don't know if it's.
So, Mr. Speaker, this is a good example why it's so important. And I appreciate the fact that you realize that it is so important that for those of us that like to know what we're dealing with, why that happened, and why we have the changes, and then making sure that they're correct. If you go down to line 2062, is that, now that instead of you struck a person and ended up putting an individual, which is.
My answer without hearing from LSA as to what I think it is, I think that was what the committee changed to work when we were doing a working draft, that was a change was made, because this was not a change in an amendment. So I think it was just, now the new system, when we have, the code that we're changing, you see, where it's stricken, the words are added, and if it was, things are double underlined, and I think it's just a glitch, but we're getting an answer.
So, and that would cause me some concern.
This was, changing a person to an individual was just, changing the language, but.
I understand that, but I appreciate what you're saying. So, when you go to page 75, you have the same thing, person to individual. Those are that's technical. all of that to me is technical. And the same thing happens on page 76. You go down to 2102, you have the same thing that happened that I talked about as relates to letter I of subsection, and then it becomes letter A, number 1. That same thing has happened there. If you go to page 77, lines 221 through 235. Now that's new information. Right? From the committee.
Those lines are in the original, and I don't know why. There, let me see.
So now, I will tell you, I hear what you're saying. So when you started making your presentation, there were several things you talk about. It streamlining the process, and in streamlining the process, my question would be, then what did that look like? What was the process before? What is it like now? What's the differences before this bill, and what is it after this?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I know it's difficult.
But in looking at the sections that you've pointed out, those that are marked in that engrossed bill, they're the same as in the original. They're just showing up in color. But they were in there. That part was not changed in committee. They are in the original draft.
So what you're really saying to me is, when I come to this mic, I need to have the original bill that was introduced, and I need to have a copy of this bill to be able to really determine what the changes are. If that makes absolutely no sense.
It's the same as in the original bill. It's just in color, and since it was engrossed, the committee engrossed bill has a different line number, but the words are the same from the original bill on the things that you pointed out.
I think we have a problem here, but we'll work through it. Thank you.
Chair would like to recognize the Gulf Shores Elementary City School System from Gulf Shores. Their guest are Representative Francis Holt Jones. Let's give them a big hand today. The chair recognizes a lady from Jefferson, Representative Van.
I appreciate it. I got several folks coming to me asking me, do I need glasses? Because they've seen the fun on my phone and they know I truly cannot see. Hold on 1 minute. Restorative lenses that I need. I guess I do at this point. Help me just get the clarity out of the engrossed version in the substitute. And as you're doing that, you know, I've been hearing a lot about the gavel. And it takes me back to the speech that I heard, I think, at the first. You know, there's power in a gavel. I'm listening. There's purpose in the gavel. But then there could also be promise in the gavel. A gavel can have a lot of meaning to it. And it can also bring hope. So I'm hoping that speech I heard at the first of the year means something, or actually meant something as it related to the first sentence out of that speech when it spoke about the gavel and what it would not be used for. But as we move forward, can you explain to me, because that gavel can also bring about provocation as we move about But can you explain to me just the substitute itself, and hopefully everything that was in what we discussed when I came up on the BRR is pretty much the same.
There were 3 words on page 25 that were, well, it's now page 20.
You got, and I hate to ever say this to anyone on the opposite side of the aisles at this time, and I know somebody still has the camera rolling, and that I've been told by several of the reporters or public TV that they cut their camera off on a lot of folks, but most of the time when I come to the mic, they keep the camera rolling. So I know it will be recorded somewhere that I said, I'm just gonna have to trust you. So I'm gonna have to trust you because I can't see it.
Well, if you're asking about the difference in the committee engrossed, it is page 23, line 644, and it leaves out 3 words, and unknown father.
Page 23?
Yes, ma'am.
Show it to me, Jenny. Just tell me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to I can't see it.
It leaves out 3 words, and unknown father, so that the line then reads, mother have previously terminated as. So that was the only change in the engrossed version from the committee.
Okay, did you clean them? You got to put some. No, but let me just get some sanitizer. I thank you because I need any help I can get. Thank you, Julie. Uptown Julie Brown. That's Uptown Julie Brown, guys. But I need all the help I can get at this point. Okay, so it looks like, okay, I can see a little bit. So, unknown fathers. Thank you. It always seems like I can get a little help from some Republicans every now and then. And that's more than I can say about some other folks in the room. But, okay, so is this the only modification?
That was it. It was just from when the committee left, the last working draft had omitted those words, and then just when it was getting drafted by LSA, the words were included and they should not have been, so, because it's in the beginning of the paragraph referring to the case of an unknown father.
Okay. And that's the section that's what I wanted to just verify. Okay, again, I think it's a good bill. I think it's needed, again, to streamline the process. It actually took me back to when my father was passing in 2015. And of course, he was adopting my niece, and he had been waiting and trying to get her adopted, and he was able to finally do that. And of course, there were some time constraints that we were facing, and had this legislation been in place even at the time, and it would have actually helped to speed up the process, not only for him, but for others that were going through the adoption process. And so for me, it means a lot that we were able to, but we were able successfully, actually just probably within a month of his passing, we were able to, get my niece, and now I guess for all intents and purposes, my baby sister adopted. And it meant a lot to him to be able to do it, but we did have a lot of restrictions because we were facing so many of those time constraints. So I'm glad that this actually does streamline, because we've had several pieces of legislation where we've moved in, where we've said that, we are trying to streamline processes, and a lot of some of this legislation we pass on through the years, I'm not seeing where it's necessarily streamlined the process. So hopefully this will be one such piece of legislation that it will do just as, we've said it would do. So I commend you on your efforts to get this out. And hopefully I asked if we could get this open it up for those who so desire for co-sponsors.
Be glad to.
Upon final passage, to be able to do just that. So now you're a chair over which committee? Is this out of your committee or?
Children and Senior Advocacy.
Okay, so this came out of your committee?
It did.
Okay, well, good job. Oh, thank you, Lynn's Wipes. I'm glad I got some folks looking out for me. I guess I do have a little help in here, more so than I thought, at least on today anyway. Most of the time I come in here, I'm the Lone Ranger, which I don't mind. I've been able to withstand some things by myself a long time, so I'm good. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Gildred. But, okay, so we'll get it out and got 2 minutes to go. And again, I always have to take my last 2 minutes. Again, we don't have much down here, and 2 hour and a half, 2 hours is a long way to go. So everything else has been taken from me. I'm gonna take my 10 or 9.5 or 9:15 or however many it takes me to get to the microphone. But that's all I got down here. I don't have any committees, so I do what I have to do and go on about my business. So spring break is coming up, and I know I can't venture too far because I don't want to get gavelled down in here. Today I want to be able to go home in peace. So I'm trying to keep my nerves in a good place to not get gavelled today and hauled out the chamber. I'm not ready for my CNN, Fox News moment as of yet. Or handcuffs. Well, my lawyer's on standby. I've already notified them to be ready. And all of the NAACP and all of them ready. So they already know what I'm dealing with down here. So I've already told them to be ready. So they know what's up. I'll be ready to drop and roll. So we shall overcome. But anyway, I appreciate your efforts on the bill and having the opportunity to speak on it. And I look forward to serving as being able to co-sponsor the bill at the appropriate time. And so as I begin to take my stroll back to my seat, I have a call coming in, and I have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Morgan, Representative Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am very thrilled for this bill today. I'm very excited. Adoption and foster care is something that's near and dear to my heart, and my family has been touched greatly by it. We've fostered, or my family has fostered to adopt kids who have been in terrible drug situations, and so I'm very thrilled to see this legislation come forward. This is an issue that has been near and dear to me. And I'm excited to see this process streamlined and to get as many children into good homes as fast as possible. And so that's why I voted to pass this bill out of committee. I do have one area of concern that I would like to, not concern, but I think a helpful idea to discuss. And right now in Alabama, the majority of adoption that happens through foster to adopt. And I've got some documentation here that I'll leave up if you would like to look at it. So for example, in this DHR introduction to adoption, they state here that most of the department's adoptive placements are made from the population of children in the department's foster care program. Thank you. And then also in the DHR placements document, there are about 5,700 children in foster care, about 2,360 foster homes available, and about 220 children available for direct adoption. And so obviously the majority of those are going to happen through foster to adopt. And so as a note in this document here, may find, oh, here it is. They make the point that the majority of children in the permanent custody of the State Department of Human Resources will have the permanency goal of foster parent adoption or adoption with an unidentified resource. And so one of the things that I desired in trying to maximize getting the most number of children into homes as fast as possible, because I love the bill and I'm entirely for the bill, is right now that many of my constituents have reached out to me and other Alabamians about the fact that because they want to help us get more children into good homes faster, that we stand united. I believe we've come through a difficult last several years as a nation, and that we stand united on the importance of allowing individuals to make choices for themselves and their loved ones without being excluded from equal participation in society. And I believe it's very important at this time in our nation's history to affirm that adoption and any process that leads to adoption, including fostering to adopt, which happens overwhelmingly in our state, should be free from vaccine mandates so that all of our amazing parents and families can join together to help alleviate this crisis and deliver these children into good quality homes. And so, Mr. Speaker, to that end, I have, I believe, a helpful amendment to propose to the sub.
Clerk will see for the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 101 by Representative Yarborough.
Representative Yarborough, you explained the amendment. Would you like any further discussion on the amendment?
Yes, I'd be happy to explain the amendment. Thank you. So the amendment says that no rule or regulation of any state department shall prevent an adoption or deny foster certification, licensure, or placement based on the vaccination status of any individual. So it's a one-sentence amendment, and the purpose is to, I've got lots of my constituents who are not allowed to participate in the foster to adopt process because of their vaccination status, and they would love to put these kids in good homes, and I would like to see them be able to equally participate in that without being discriminated against on the basis of the parents or the biological children in the home, their vaccine status.
Mr. Representative Yarborough, I appreciate your passion and your interest in this issue, as many of us, feel. And as I mentioned from the beginning, that this particular bill has been worked on for over 4 years. And when I began with the committee, I had additional ideas about adoption that I did not incorporate in this bill and that I may bring separately. And there's been other representatives that approached with other ideas too, that I encourage them to do as I am you, to bring a separate legislation so that that issue can be thoroughly vetted, because you will hear words like unintended consequences, which this one sentence would have, in particular, decreasing our federal funding, which we cannot do without to support our foster care system. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I move to table.
Can I move to lay aside the motion for table for a moment? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the move is to table the motion. If you're in favor of tabling the motion, your vote will be aye. If you're not in favor of tabling the motion, your vote will be no. Clerk will unlock machines, record the votes.
Yes, please. No, please.
All the members voted. $58 ayes, 22 nays. The clerk will lock the machines. I'm sorry. 58 yeas, 24 nays. The motion has been tabled. Madam Chair.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt the committee sub.
Okay, we got a couple of lights on. Chair recognizes a gentleman from Lauderdale. Representative? Okay. The chair recognizes a lady from Madison. Representative Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With a Lady Yield.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I clear in my understanding that all of these children are in foster care that are up for adoption, that they will be in foster care?
The 220, they would most likely, well, they would be in some kind of supported system, yes, whether it's a foster parent or, a children's home.
So are you able to demonstrate for me the streamlining of the adoption process versus what the process is now? What does that look like?
Well, it involves the changes to the court procedure, specifying in particular which court is the proper court to hear an adoption and any related issues like, termination of parental rights or a contest, and then the disposition of that going back to the probate court, enabling the courts to communicate with each other and electronic means and specific deadlines for those communications.
I'm sorry, what was that last statement you just made?
It allows the courts to communicate with our latest technology. Instead of a piece of paper waiting to land on a judge's desk, they can electronically communicate with each other, and it also protects the integrity and the sealing of those documents because they are not public concerning.
So when you say protect the documents, you're saying the process, the court process as it relates to, I'm trying to tie that together.
Adoption records are protected.
Right.
It allows the courts to communicate with each other, but still protect those documents.
Right. So when the courts communicating with each other in terms of protecting the documents, do we have, or is that a process from the courts to Department of Human Resources? Our computer system, I keep hearing.
There's not one unified system. They have separate systems, but they're able to communicate with each other.
So they are able, that translates over to our system, state system, in terms of their communication.
It's not the same system, but they are able to communicate with each other.
All right. So, okay, so the court process is the main portion that is streamlining this, the adoption.
It's a large part of it, the court procedures. It also, like I mentioned, the confidentiality.
What is this statement? I read someplace, and I have to go back and find it, that dealt with 18-year-olds from consenting to adoptions. It was, I don't know where, maybe I need to come back. Did we do anything as relates to terminating parental rights? Have you decreased or shortened
the times? Shorten the time periods from 6 months to 4 months as far as, implied consent. That if someone abandons a child, it's now.
And what do we call abandoning a child?
Well, just withdrawing support, and it's actually in the bill exactly.
I know
what it is.
Yeah. So let me tell you about an experience I had. This is personal. Family members had a daughter. They both were drug addicts. My family, I took custody of the daughter. And for 3 years. And I've always believed that sometimes the biggest challenge that I find that we have when it comes to issues like this is that as a state, that resources for helping families. Now, I'm not saying that we don't, but one of the biggest challenges that I found are resources to help families. Families that have children don't want their children to be from them. Even if you take the craziest of parents, that's just one of those things. I've seen it. For 3 years, I cared for a niece because I honestly believe if we were able to provide and get the care and provide for them the support that the parents needed, one of them, if not both of them, would get that child back. And they did. The child went back. And so when you talk about the number of individuals that we have that are still out of the 5,000 plus individuals that we have that are in foster care, and we have, it's about 5,000 that's in foster care.
5,700.
Right, by almost 6,000
Yes,
in
ma'am. It's
foster
been
care.
over 6,000.
That's a lot of children.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we can in any way provide the resources that those families need, and I'm not saying DHR is not doing this. I have never gotten a negative response from DHR on any issue that I've brought to their attention, especially as it relates to children. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying that we must find a way. We must find the resources to make sure that we are providing all of those things that that child needs, that that family needs in order. And many times what I've seen is that families are penalized because they can't or don't have the resources to do what they need to do.
If I may I tell you about something I've been working on?
Sure.
It's not in this bill, but
okay.
The Department of Public Health has a Children and Families Resource Guide that has not been updated in quite a while. And I discovered that during the pandemic, but I didn't want to bother them when they were really busy. So waited until they had a little more time to devote to it. And I asked about the guide. And so they have spent quite a bit of time now updating the guide. And it is all the information from each county about the resources and help that's available to help families and children, so that people will know when they come and they have this need, that they will know where to go in their county to get the help that's out there and available. So it's gone through their legal process now, and it's working on graphics, and I want to get this information online and get it printed and get it out there and put it in the hands of, I hope, all of our county health departments and anywhere that people go to get help, that they can see in their county, in their home, what's available to help them in these type of situations.
And I think that's a great start. But I just wanted to make sure that as we talk about this process, and I don't have any opposition to the bill. That's not why I'm here.
Yes,
but mainly as we talk about this bill and we talk about our concern about our children, that we want to make sure that the children that are in the system, that others almost 6,000, that we do everything possible to make sure that child is going to be successful. I'm not saying the DHR is not doing everything within its power, but I believe together we can make a difference and make sure that those children that are destined not to be successful provide an environment where that can happen. The other one is in the adoption process. Someplace I read, but I think I won't deal with that right now. I had one more. The courts. Most of the court system process is going to go through the probate court, right?
That's where it starts, but if there's an issue, like if the parental rights need to be terminated, then that goes to a juvenile court. If there's a contest, that goes to a juvenile court. So then it can now return to the probate court for final disposition.
The only thing that I would go back to terminating parental rights, I from 6 months to 7 months, I mean, from 6 months to 4 months, I'm not sure, I'm not clear in that process. But I know there are a lot of things that have to take place. First thing, the incident has happened with the family. They have to go to court to talk about petitioning the court to terminate rights. There's a process. That entire process, what do you imagine or what do you know the length of that process usually is?
It varies. It varies because, there's it's, we're a bureaucracy. It takes paperwork and
I know.
when courts can put it on the docket and, so we're talking about basically a time for abandonment when support's been withdrawn. There's been no contact and nothing communicated that anybody intends to
The
return.
lady's time has expired. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Van.
Listen to him.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt for final passage. Okay.
And then as soon as she gets.
Representative Van. The question now is for final passage. Clerk will unlock the machines, record the votes. Clerk will lock the machines. 105 yeas, 0 nays. Congratulations, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to open it up for co-sponsors.
Sponsors asked to open it up for co-sponsors. Clerk unlock the machines. Members will vote. Clerk lock the machines. Record the votes. 99 co-sponsors. Congratulations, Chairman Shavers. This is a good day for children in Alabama. The chair recognizes Representative Hassel for a timely resolution.
I'll ask the House to suspend the rules for time-sensitive resolution. It's a condolences resolution on Miss Gertha Herndon. She passed away, and she was an important member of the community in Sheridan Heights here in Montgomery.
All those in favor say aye. Resolution is passed. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, bro. All right, thank you.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile. Pro Tem Pringle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder, we've agreed to meet on Tuesday, the 4th at 1 p.m. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move the House stand in adjournment and leave the journal open till the clerk completes his business.
All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned.